ground it down to the ground. One of the oldest churches. This is the one when Jesus performed a miracle and fed the poor. And the church was built on that site. It was burned to the ground. I can cite you hundreds of churches now in Palestine stand abandoned, and Palestinian Christians inside Israel not allowed to approach it. Not allowed to approach it. You will not respond until you apologize for lying and saying that Palestinians live on equal footing inside Israel.
You tried to censor me.
No. I want you to apologize for coming here and spreading. Stop it. I want you to apologize for coming here and daring to claim that Palestinians inside Israel live on equal footing like Israeli Jews. I want you to apologize. I just cited one small example. I have tens of examples to bring to you about the Palestinians who live inside the state of Israel. About the 400,000 Palestinians who live inside the state of Israel, who have an Israeli citizenship, but they are internally displaced, who are not allowed to go back to their homes and villages inside Israel. They live inside Israel, but they are refugees inside Israel. They are internally displaced today. Such as the Christian Palestinians of the town of Ekret in the north of Israel, the town of Ekret, whose town was destroyed all the way to the ground in 1952, and the only thing was that left remained not destroyed was the church. All of their homes were destroyed, and they were made refugees or displaced inside the state of Israel. They live everywhere inside Israel except their own hometown, Ekret. Until now, they are unable and not allowed to go back to it. And the same thing also Al-Nassa.
Can the mods, can we control this? I mean, because I'm just saying, like, I get it.
I finished, but I know you have no shame.
Apologize.
Yeah, exactly. You have no shame. You have no shame for claiming a lie like this. Go ahead and address this lie. Address this lie only. Only the Palestinians who live inside Israel. Address this point. Don't start playing, with points here and there.
No. The point is the same. Number one, I'm African American, so no one has authority to enact any authority over me. You have no authority over me. So whatever you feel inside you that thinks you have an authority to make me do this or do that, I don't know. You have to remove that from you.
Well, here's what I
Oh, I need food. A little bit.
So you should. Yeah. My thing is, you lied about the baby bullet thing. I went to Google it and saw some horrific headlines. I don't appreciate that. Go ahead and went and found out that there was a myth. And I agree with Samud. You're lying, and just apologize. You can't do it. So I don't want to hear anything. Wow. That's sad.
Question for Samud. Were there any Palestinians who sheltered European Jews during or after, or I should say during or before the Holocaust? Are you aware of any? Palestinians who gave shelter to individuals fleeing Nazi Germany.
That's true too.
I want you to listen to this. In 1937, let me know if I go in or out, evading an arrest warrant for aligning himself as leader of the 1936-1939 Arab revolt in Palestine against British rule, he fled and took refuge in Lebanon and afterwards Iraq. This is a story about Husseini. What's his first name? Let me see. Amin al-Husseini. Okay, he then established in fascist Italy and Nazi Germany, which he collaborated with during World War II against Britain during a meeting with Adolf Hitler backing for Arab independence in opposition to the establishment of a Jewish national home in Palestine. Upon the end of the war, he came under French protection and then sought refuge in Cairo. This is pretty long. But basically it's saying that he provided a place for Jews when they came to Israel and they were fleeing Nazi Germany. Were there others that anybody know of? Were there Muslims, Arabs in Arab Muslim countries that gave Jews refuge during the Holocaust? Do we know?
No good.
No, I'm doing the research.
Yeah, there is Palestine. That's where a lot of Ashkenazi Jewish from Europe migrated to.
And they found refuge
What was the
intact
question?
when they arrived.
Pardon?
Were they attacked when they arrived?
No,
No.
they weren't. No, they weren't. They were even given passports. There's a famous, clip of the first Israeli Prime Minister, female Prime Minister, what's her name again? Anyway, her name was Golda Meir. She talked about traveling and having the Palestinian passport.
She was Palestinian herself.
Yes, she was Palestinian.
She does claim that. So yeah, so there's
Acknowledged Palestine before Israel was.
So is that what's really going on, that a lot of Palestinians feel like they openly embraced European Jews and
Bingo. Yes.
then after openly embracing them, that they turned around, spit in their faces, and stole their homes?
Yes, was by implementing those banking systems, they gained influence from the U.S. to come help them do it. That's why Jewish people are really good at mental warfare opposed to physical warfare.
And
your
do
question
you have any
earlier
links
about
to that? You know, like, is there anything anybody can read to study more on that? 'Cause I think that's an important conversation too.
Yeah, I could probably look up something. There's a lot of stories about it.
If I wanted to comment on this, number one, I would say, myself as a Palestinian, the religion of Judaism is totally innocent of what is taking place in Palestine. Number one. Number two, Jewish people in general did not have or do not have an inherent animosity or an inherent desire to colonize Palestine. This is political Zionism is something that was concocted recently, 120 years ago. And number three, Palestinians, Palestine was part of the whole area, Palestine, Lebanon, Syria. It was almost one area historically. And in this land, people of Islam, Christianity, and Judaism, though in a small number, they all lived and coexisted peacefully. History proves it. Jewish communities lived, prospered in Beirut, in the heart of Beirut, in the heart of Damascus, in the heart of Aleppo, Syria, and if we want to go also Baghdad, and especially these three areas, Syria, Lebanon, and Palestine. People migrated. For instance, in the year 1730, Akka, the city of Acre, became a very prosperous city. It went its population from 400 to 25,000 people, became the number one economic city. The ruler of that city, Tahir Omar, chose a Jewish person from Damascus to carry out his financial work, everything, take care of the finance. So this Jewish man was the second person after Tahir Omar in the town of Acre. It was no problem at all. So this is how it was. People identified themselves. A Jew from Damascus called himself a Damascus. A Jew from Beirut called himself a Beiruti, or from Saida, someone a Sidon. Did not say like I am. No, they belonged to their own localities. They spoke their own local dialects, and this is how we lived. Palestinians welcomed any minority that wanted to take refuge in Palestine, such as the Armenians, such as the Circassians, and also in the year 1880, a group of Yemeni Jews decided to come to Palestine for religious purposes, and they were welcomed. There was no problem at all. But Palestinians did not welcome European Zionist Jews who started coming in the beginning of the 20th century, and they had a malicious plan. They started establishing communal, exclusive farms that are only exclusive to Jews. It just didn't sound right, didn't settle well. And this is when the problem as he started.
Exclusive to Jews?
Exclusive, exactly. They call it a kipput.
Yes,
Yeah, communal. Yeah,
Because
communal.
that's the part that I think I'm having issues with. Like when I speak to Moroccan Jews, when I speak to Algerian Jews, Tunisian Jews, most of my dad's friends, they all speak Arabic as their first language.
Right. Yeah, so as
There
far
was
as
a different. So are you saying that the tides changed, or that the relationships changed when more and more European Jews began to arrive?
yeah, so what happened? Number one, I am going to exonerate, I would say 99% of the Jews in the world. They are not the perpetrators. What happened is that they were co-opted. They were indoctrinated. They capitulated to an ideology that is Zionism. Such as, for instance, the Arab Jews, like the ones from Tunisia, Morocco, Iraq. A lot of them were pulled. There were new circumstances that they were pulled into Israel. A lot of them didn't want to go to Israel, actually. The rich ones, the ones who could afford going to America, to Europe, they went there and settled there. And until today, some of them, even like maybe in New York or others, do not ascribe to Zionism. But unfortunately, with the strength of the idea of Zionism and the longevity of it, a lot of Jews, unfortunately, have been indoctrinated into accepting political Zionism. Does it make sense, Izzy?
No, it makes
Yeah.
a lot of sense. And the reason why it does is having grown up amongst Yemenite and Moroccan, like 70s, 80s were a pretty diverse time for Judaism in Crown Heights and Brooklyn. And what I found is that when those individuals came to New York, and were brought even by Eastern European Jews, many of them felt awkward, you know what I mean? Like they're very dark skinned, most of them were darker than I am. That they were encouraged to marry white men and women to kind of make their children a little bit lighter, over time. But they were the ones ostracized and marginalized. And that kind of happens with people who are marginalized. Like if they're going through it, they want to look for someone else that they can kick dirt on so that the pressure is off of them. But I'm really starting to understand why Moroccan, Tunisian, Algerian Jews were at some point, especially those who lived in Arab-speaking countries, why initially they weren't welcomed by the State of Israel. Why initially only certain types of Jews from certain places were welcomed. They were extreme. Most of these Jews of North African descent, of Yemen, Ethiopia, these were very spiritual, very religious Jews. Very, very, we don't have denominations in Sephardic culture. There's no such thing as conservative or Orthodox or Reform. Traditional Jews who are Arab speaking. It makes so much sense now that they would not have been welcomed.
They can't be controlled.
Their belief in God would not have allowed them to engage in certain types of practices. Like they were literally living and flourishing and progressing in Arab spaces. Why would you spit on the very individuals that sheltered you when Christians didn't?
Because they adopted
And that's what happened in the 60s. Like the Mizrahi Jews who came from Arab countries, they did in the universities in Israel. They did the Black Panther movement. It's for like oppressed Mizrahi Jews, like who are oppressed by the Ashkenazi or like European Jews in Israel, which is like it's so documented. You can like anyone can check it, and you see like even people stay alive today. It's not like so far away. They will tell you like what happened to them. You know, when they go to the kibbutz, how they like separate them from like the Europeans ones. They give them like dirty jobs. Even the Yemeni Jews, they took their children from them, and they are adopted by European ones who cannot have children. You know, this is happening. This is reality.
Yeah, Izzy, I just want to say something to you quickly. See, like the whole problem is literally the anti-Semitism problem. It's basically a European problem. Jews everywhere else, they were thriving, having a good life, they were not prosecuted. It's only in Europe, literally. And my hypothesis, I feel like Europeans or European countries are too embarrassed to actually address the issue of anti-Semitism because of how they treated the Ashkenazi Jews in Europe, right? And the Zionism project, it's just a racist project. You know, they use Judaism as a cover-up, literally.
That is true.
And even the founder of the Zionism founder, or one of the major guys, Theodor Herz, he's an atheist. He's not even a Jew believer. You know, he was not.
Most of them were atheists and secularists.
Yeah, most of them were atheists. So the whole thing, like Jews were thriving in Yemen, in Egypt, even in Sudan, in Iraq, in Ethiopia, in Iran. Until today, there's Iranian Jews that live there, and there's an Iranian Jew elected member of parliament in the Iranian parliament today.
More than that,
Guess what? They are so rich. Like Iranian Jews today, they are so rich. Like multi-rich. You know, they have the best life there in Iraq. They don't even need anything from America, you know, or from like to get help from the other Jews. They don't need nothing.
Mm-mm. In fact, you want to hear something crazy? When Iranian Jews were coming here, God, this is a long time ago, but when they were coming here, many of the parents, and they did go through some religious persecution under the Ayatollah, but when they came here with immense wealth. And it never made sense to me that some of the richest, like if you go into Brooklyn, and you see some of the synagogues on Ocean Parkway, what is the other one? It's not, is it B'nai Yosef? I have to think, like pure gold, like that they brought from their own country. Some of the richest communities come from Arab countries. How were they able to make that much wealth in those countries, only to come here to be, one, discriminated against by Ashkenazim? Let's just call a spade, and I've had actually conversations with many community leaders from those spaces, and then to kind of look down on the very people that they lived with at one point peacefully. It's wild. It's wild. I don't know too many Sephardic Jews who came here and cut their names in half and cut off their side curls and spit in their grandparents' faces because they wanted to assimilate to everything but Judaism. You couldn't do that.
Don't have side curls.
Dummy, I was talking about Ashkenazi Jews.
Yeah,
At the end of the day. And I'm not talking to you, Booty Bandit. I'm not talking to you, Booty Bandit. I'm not talking to you, Booty Bandit, and I wasn't finished. Rohan, can you please handle Brother Juicy Fruit? I'd appreciate it. At the end of the day, think about this. If you were a religious Jew and you were clashing with secularists, right, who did not want to be religious, did not want any connection to Torah, what would be the easiest way to convince, wow, this is pretty sad when I think about it, to convince those spiritually guided Jews from Arab countries that they should hate Arabs or hate Muslims. The easiest way would be to convince them that they were somehow unsafe and that Arabs and Muslims were now the enemy, which makes a lot of sense. So now you would have Mizrahi Jews who grew up with Arabic names. Isn't that crazy too? Can you imagine a Jew with the name Mahmoud? I mean, at the end of the day, you would have to convince these people that their religion was dead. They no longer needed it. They simply needed to be Israeli nationalists and nothing more. Because essentially that's all those Russian and Polish and German Jews had. They weren't interested in religion. They weren't interested in Torah practices. I say this at least once a week. Most of those Jews weren't even circumcised. They had stopped circumcising their sons. And while they make excuses for it today, well, we weren't allowed to. Why are we not talking about the exorbitant numbers of assimilated Jews in Germany? The Jews who were a part of the Nazi Party. The European Jews who swore up and down to the Third Reich when they came to take them away, I am no longer a Jew. I am more Nazi than you. It makes sense. And then to look at the state of Israel today, that offers further proof. Individuals no longer want to be Jews. They no longer want to be Torah observant. They want to feel Judaism in their heart and leave it there. But the moment you lose God and the moment you lose Torah, you lose sight of who you really are, of what your Jewish identity really means. And it doesn't mean writing a check to the IDF or AIPAC or anything else. It means being a good person, essentially. I mean, what Jew would you ever expect with the word rabbi before his name to say that every Palestinian baby is a terrorist?
Rabbi Shmuley.
Okay, but look at how that is insanity. When you're looking at this woman, that's still, I'm reeling from that. Corinna, whatever her name was, saying, I mean, she gave us a good 2-3 minutes on her background.
Yeah, she did.
Shoah. You literally have first-hand accounts from your grandmother and your mother about what it took to escape Nazi Germany.
And then create that around the world.
Right, and then when we ask her, hey, do you see Warsaw in the rubble of Gaza? She's like, not
You could be Persian, he still spreads hatred.
She really did. That was insane. I could not believe it. That was really...
Like, it felt like somebody grabbed me in my chest. What? She's like, well, the numbers are not high enough for it to be genocide, you know?
It's definitely genocide. That was
having babies.
Yeah, I think what Trump did
Having
too.
babies. What the fuck?
It's like,
You know what?
it's like you killed 20,000 people. It's like, no, I only killed 19,995.
Exactly.
You know.
That part, and that's not what Torah teaches. Torah nowhere teaches people to be insensitive or cruel. But, if you are a descendant of raw, meat-eating cave dwellers who have no idea what the warmth of love feels like, who are dog-eat-dog type of people, who kill with impunity, well, then it makes
Not
sense.
a lie. Europe has proved this. All of Europe thinks they're dominant of the world. France has their
You
hand in
can
it.
go to somebody
Spain has
else.
their hand in it. The UK has their hand in it.
You can go to somebody else's continent and rape fathers, not women, not mothers, rape fathers in front of their sons for 400 fucking years with impunity and never once think it's a bad thing until it's not financially convenient to end it.
That's why America and
Realize
Israel are matchmade in
Oh my
heaven.
God.
Imagine Nazi Germany being visited upon any group of people for 400 years, 100 times longer than the actual concentration camps of Germany. And it'd be okay. It'd be all right. It'd be like, what's the matter? These people aren't worthy of dignity or honor. They were meant to be our slaves. Don't you know about the curse of Ham? They're vermin. They're garbage. They're trash. Isn't that what we're saying about Palestinian on public stages today? Ben Gavir? Smotrick? Really? I'm appalled that any person who claims to serve the true and living God could even say some of the things I hear out of their mouths. Go ahead, I'm listening. I'm sorry, hon.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to mention 2 points when you were talking. I was going to say, like, you'd actually be surprised how much in common do Jewish and Muslims have. Even the names, they're very similar to each other. And the other part I was going to say as well is the Orthodox Jew. They are actually against the Zionist movement and also against the state of Israel. It's according to them and according to the Torah, is that they're not supposed to have a state of their own until the coming of the Messiah. So you would see a lot of Orthodox Jews with Palestinian flags and so on, and literally protesting against the state of Israel. That it goes against their belief.
Can I tell you something? I actually had one of these same idiots tell me that Muslims and Jews pray to a different God.
That's crazy.
Wow.
That's crazy.
It got me.
Even Catholics believe in the same God as Muslims and Jews. Maybe a little different story, but they all believe in the same God.
Right. But here's what got me even more. They have no problem buddying up to the Pastor Hagees. They have no problem buddying up to card-carrying real anti-Semites. As long as they're writing those checks, as long as they're taking trips and tours to Israel, we can forget about those crosses that they burnt on Jewish people's lawns.
But that's evil and goodness, spiritual war. People have, they want to profit off of other things instead of the life that was given to us. And that's just how it is. We're just in a spiritual war between evil and goodness.
Muslims cover their heads. Jews uncover their heads. Muslim women cover up. Jewish women cover up. Muslims eat a restricted diet. Jews eat a restricted diet. Muslims say Allahu Akbar. Jews say Shema Israel. Muslims believe in one God. Jews believe in one God. What happened?
No, come on, we cannot. It's not even like a matter of debate.
What happened?
Rabbi Ben-Mimon, we cannot, if I'm a Jew, I cannot really, criticize someone like Rabbi Ben-Mimon. Like, he said, you are allowed as a Jew to pray, in a mosque, and to eat their food. And the Muslims historically says, their scholars, the Prophet, not scholars. He said, not the Prophet, to be honest with myself, not the Prophet. But they said, there is no debate about this. If I'm someone in Brooklyn and there is some law hey, Muslim, you cannot pray on the streets and there is no mosque, I will get permission. I will ask a Jew synagogue, if they allow me to pray there. That's really the point there. If I won't eat meat and there is no other solution and there is no halal restaurant, I will go to the kosher there. It's we know this. It's not matter of debate. We believe in the same God.
But when you talk to certain people from certain places, they don't know anything about that. Do you know that there's probably not one brother, elder, at Al-Taqwa that doesn't know my family or my father or my uncles? My father, God bless him, has 5 daughters and 1 son.
Shout out to Taqwa.
They literally, if I even looked like I was going to the wrong place or walked too far, come here, aren't you Hashim's daughter? Come. At the end of the day, I grew up. I learned a lot of the bad words in Arabic, but I grew up around Yemenites and people from Saudi Arabia, and people from Syria and Iraq, some Jews, some not. But doesn't it seem, I mean, I'm hoping people are getting this, doesn't it seem like there was a virus inserted into some of these communities and certain these spaces, so that people who look just like Palestinians now hate themselves and anyone who looks like them? Isn't that deep? I can't, when I was in Israel, if there was a Palestinian standing next to an Israeli, an old Sabra Israeli, I couldn't tell the difference until they opened their mouths, because Arabic is a little bit more guttural, right, than Hebrew. Your hat is really a hat. At the end of the day, though, how do individuals of the same family, the descendants of Ibrahim and the descendants of Abraham, now hate each other because of individuals who don't even circumcise their own flesh, much less that of their sons? How is it that people who look like you and me are somehow now at each other's throats because of people who had to look in graveyards to verify their quote-unquote Jewish identity? How is that possible? They can't even claim 3 generations of Torah observance, but you can. Why? Because most individuals who know the Quran know that many of the same laws apply. How did that happen to us? That's the $1 million question. That right there is the $1 million question. How did European ideology influence and infiltrate Muslim and Jewish spaces to the degree where, what was it we saw in those stats? 50% of Israel today is secular and non-Torah observant. You know why these European Jews get nervous and triggered when I speak? Because they know it's the truth. They know that they weren't in the room speaking.
But is European Jews the survivor of the Holocaust, or the grandson of the survivor of Holocaust? Frankenstein he is like grandson of survivor, like a son of survivors of Holocaust, and he is European, and he say the truth because he suffered from Nazis, like his parents, not him. So he know what happened in Israel. It's a Nazism. So they know. And before I know only Flixton, like years before. Now I see many like survivors of Holocaust in France, like in many places. They really like speak, like they say we are against Zionism. And what is the argument of the Zionists? What? Self-hate Jews, crazy survivors of the Shoah? What they will say? Really, like what they will say? Nothing.
Honestly, I think, and you see this more and more and more, that individuals who are true descendants of the Shoah, not just people who talk about it, they are anti-Zionist in every way. They do not believe in racial or religious superiority at all. They know what it costs them and their families. Imagine telling someone who lost 10, 15, 20, 30 family members in Warsaw that Gaza is okay. Yeah, you can kill 30,000, 40,000, 50,000 people with impunity. You can do that. Imagine that person who stands and says Kaddish. Kaddish is the prayer that we say over the dead. Imagine that person saying, I lost 6 million. It's okay for you to lose even 6,000, much less 60,000. It's incongruent. It doesn't make any sense unless those who were charged with the responsibility to never forget have developed really convenient memories. A woman who's been raped cannot, under any circumstance, stand by and watch other women raped. She can't do it. Something inside her is going to recoil just at the memory of her own trauma, much less at the idea of her standing idly by while someone else is traumatized in the same way. It's gonna sound horrible to say, and I don't even care because it's not true. We need to remove non-Torah observers from places of decision making in our religious spaces. Maybe we need to do the same thing in terms of Islam. Any Muslim who's compromised by money and power needs to go. Let it be that the persons who are in leadership and powerful positions, let them be true servants of Allah.
Best believe that Yahoo will be. Yeah, I agree, and I think that'll come to show after everything that's going on comes to an end. Netanyahu, the Zionist, will be going to jail as soon as this ends.
Know where it's been moved to. I don't know what they mean by that, but nobody was blown up to Kingdom Come. At one point, the president compared the U.S. attack to the bombing of Hiroshima and Nagasaki because dropping those bombs ended a war. And dropping these bombs ended a war. So I guess he's comparing himself to Harry S. Truman. But in the impact of this attack, and I think it's something that the United States should be actually proud of, was completely different because it wasn't